right, let's take the story forward now with the SSA report. For more on some of today's news, we're joined in studio by ANC Acting National Spokesperson Dakota Legoete. And we're going to be talking about many issues with regard to the ANC. But first up, let's look at the high-level review panel report on State Security Agency, or SSA. Thank you so much for coming in. Good to have you on Morning Live.
No, thank you very much, and to all the viewers at home, good morning.
Let's get the immediate reaction from the ANC to the release of this report.
Look, as the African National Congress, we respect the authority of government to can make a high-level review panel from time to time. And as the ANC, we welcome the report of the panel, and we hope that its recommendation will be implemented in fully by those in government, our deployees, in particular the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, as well as the Inspector General, including the relevant minister and the Office of the President. We'll have to ensure that this recommendation get to be implemented.
Okay, so in this particular report, nobody's mentioned, but I think everybody knows who's been spoken about here. I mean, it's been spoken widely. I mean, we look at the years that they were in. So the people that really have been sort of alluded to would be Ngcuele, we've got David Mahlobo, we've also got Arthur Fraser, we've got Thulani Dlomo. What's going to happen to them?
Look, that's why I said this particular matter is a matter within the ambit of government. As the African National Congress, in particular the Thule House, we have limitations because this is a process that needs to be undertaken by the union building to ensure that these particular recommendations are followed. On names which are alleged to be there, I would not also want to comment because these members did their work in their responsibility as members of the executive relevant for that particular department, and in government there is a process where you deal with such issues either through the Executive Ethics Act, either through other processes of parliament, of disciplinary processes. So we will not want to be dragged in as the African National Congress because in our situation, our constitution leads us, our conference resolution, all our policy positions. So in this regard, it's government. So the rule of law, which is the constitution, which is the acts of parliament, which is policy positions, which is Chapter 9 or Chapter 9 institutions would apply.
Yeah, it's difficult to understand that and look at it that way because those implicated are ANC members. They fall under the ANC, and the ANC is the government of the country and the ruling party. And you yourself should take a stance against those implicated, don't you think? I mean, some of them are still in very powerful positions. We're talking, again, I mentioned the same ministers that are there are still there. David Mahlobo, we're talking Ngcuele. We've got Arthur Fraser, who was a key at this, and he's heading up the National Commissioner of Correctional Services. I mean, these guys are still in top positions. We're going to talk about former President Jacob Zuma in a second, but, you know, has the ANC addressed them at all in your capacity as a party?
Look, the report only came on Friday. We are only meeting today in the Thule House as the African National Congress. We don't have an official position related to how we are going to approach the matter. But we are saying, as the African National Congress, that the same people that are referred to or alleged to, even though their names are not mentioned, it's so difficult even to confirm their names.
It's not really that difficult. I mean, you can put two and two together, surely. I mean, you know that, you know, state security, two ministers during that period, it's not that difficult.
You know, just as a classical example, the life of espionage, intelligence is a very difficult life, even to confirm what happens and what is said. What we'll do is that as the ANC, once we have went through the report and its recommendation, we'll be in a position at that time to issue an official statement. But equally, we would respect the rights of those members who, even though not mentioned, are alleged to have had a hand in this whole process. So
one of the recommendations in the report coming out, basically saying disciplinary action or criminal prosecution for Zuma, ministers, SSA bosses and staff who willfully violated laws in issuing and executing illegal orders. Your response to this? I mean, again, we bring into play the former president, Jacob Zuma, here.
Yeah, that's why I said from our side as the ANC, we do not even have the mandate to can investigate, prosecute That particular mandate is with the police and the criminal justice system. Will not be in that position. The matter related to discipline, it's a matter of Parliament or Executive Ethics Act, which is a process of Parliament. That is where that particular matter belongs. As the ANC, even now I still say we have limitations to can say and put our position forward because we are not the relevant authority to deal with the situation. Those are relevant authorities which are responsible, which some of them are our deployees from the President to the Minister, Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, the Speaker's Office in Parliament. Those are relevant authorities to deal with this particular matters. As the ANC would not want to be dragged into this particular matter until we have went through the report and take a position.
I have to ask you, though, how broken is state security? I mean, when you read a report like this, does it not make you worry, very, very much so, that state security is completely broken? And how can we trust that you as the ruling party are able to fix this when it was broken under you?
Look, we have said from our NASREC positions that part of the things we intend to do is to restore the confidence of the public into state institutions, is to renew the African National Congress. And now we have done our business. We must do it differently from now going forward. We must make a self-correction. Where we have made mistakes as the ANC, we admit them, and we are willing, together with our people, to grow South Africa and to ensure that there is a quality of life for all of us. So far, intelligence, like I said, it's a very different and a very complex world, the world of espionage and intelligence. But so far, as a country, we are still safe. We are confident also as the ANC that there's nothing or any act of terrorism that would warrant us to panic and think that we are threatened. We still have some criminal elements, some drugs in our streets, some of the things that we think, including corruption. If the intelligence was better strong, it would have assisted us to fight them.
The worry is that when you look at what state security had become, and the reality is, and this is mentioned in the report, it's not me talking about it or people reading into anything, it basically is saying that state security was turned into a private resource to serve the political interests of our former President Jacob Zuma and his friends and associates. And that family, which was not mentioned, but they talk about a family, would be the Gupta family. So you talk about terrorism and espionage, but we're talking to the fact that South Africans are on their knees right now, having state coffers that have been drained due to corruption. And this is one of the ways that it was done. So how safe are we? And I'm not necessarily talking about our safety, I'm talking about our state coffers.
Look, even on that particular matter of state coffers, you know, intelligence runs on operations, and some of these operations, they are covert operations. Somebody who's a civilian like me would not have a preview of what was each project used for, even though I may be one of the leaders of the ANC, but I don't have that privilege of knowing those things because they are covert operations, and I would not be able to answer to them unless those who are alleged to have done this thing, they are given a right of reply to explain why they took certain decisions or why they embarked on certain programs so that we know. Yeah, but for now, things which are covered in espionage or intelligence, I may not have a privilege to say that.
You know, we were talking to a civil society organization just a little bit earlier, the Right to Know campaign, and within the report it's spoken about how these organizations have been infiltrated and spied on as well. We're talking about unions, student movements as well, and civil society organizations. I mean, is this not a threat to democracy?
No, it can't be a threat to democracy. I think we need to know everywhere in the world where there is a democracy, anything, be it an NGO, a CBO, a foreign intelligence agency, illegal immigrants, foreign nationals, all those particular institutions, if they pose a threat to our democracy, we can, as a nation, find out what is happening with no intentions to harm. With only the intention to defend the country, the state, the territory, our sovereignty, and our right to self-determination. I
want to quickly address the issue of the sexual harassment policy within the ANC. Explain to us about this formulation now of this policy.
No, thank you very much. The policy comes as a directive from the grievance panel on the matter of a case of sexual harassment, which was reported in Luthuli House. So far as the ANC were instructed by the panel that within 90 days, we must have a fully fledged policy. We are at a process where we have a draft policy for now. That draft policy has went for public comments, because you know, one of the things we appreciate as the ANC is that we are a governing party, we are a leader of society. Anything we do right or wrong, it's of public interest. And this particular matter became a matter of public interest. So the public, we have requested them to make comments until the 15th. Immediately after that, we will then take this particular policy, draft policy, to the Commission on Gender Equality, to ensure that it gets audited for compliance in all other legislative processes, be it the Constitution or the Labour Relations Act. And from there, we'll then take it to the National Executive Committee in our next meeting for it to be finally adopted and implemented in all our offices of the ANC, in all our caucuses.
Why has it taken so long? I mean, it's quite extraordinary, an organization with such a history and over 100 years of existence not having a sexual harassment policy in place.
You know, we only became government 25 years ago, and in that 25 years we have managed to be part of the Beijing Women's Conference, all Africa conventions on people's and women's rights. We have managed as the ANC to bring Rule 6, which brings gender parity. Besides, as the African National Congress, we are also a non-sexist organization. By non-sexism, we mean nobody must be discriminated based on their sexual orientation. There must be no oppression of women, in particular triple oppression of home, at work, and in society. There must be no discrimination on patriarchal basis, particularly of women. There must be no gender-based violence. Those are things that we're pushing. But as the ANC, we must admit, we have done these things all over the world, in the continent and in the country, to bring legislation. But we had an oversight that we did not have an internal policy at our offices. And
and it is showing. I mean, we've seen two of the former spokespeople that are now on suspension. They've been also, we've seen previous incidences of sexual harassment. Will action now be taken against them?
Look, those cases are already cases, like, for instance, the one of Pulemabit Khan, the one of Zizi Kodwa. We are still hanging in the air. We are not sure. There's no case, no docket, nothing so far. So as it is, the policy will apply from once it's adopted going forward.
Okay.
Those in future will be found in conflict with the law. The policy will be there to deal with them.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very, very much for your time, for talking to us about these issues. The ANC's Acting National Spokesperson, Dakota Legoete, talking to us about both the party's sexual harassment policy and the high-level review panel report on State Security Agency. Around just gone 7:30. Sakina, your news headlines up next.